Hey folks, what's going on? Time for the first digestive system lecture. What we're primarily going to be doing today is going over digestive physiology. You covered the anatomy pretty well in lab, hopefully. So we're going to mostly hit physiology here, although we'll do a little bit of anatomy here and there. Now, let's say you were following the advice of this ad right here, and you were giving this toddler some Coca-Cola. For a better start in life, start cola early. I wish I could read what it says. Promotes active lifestyle, builds personality, gives body essential sugars. All right, so you fed the baby some soda. That's what we're doing. Bottom line, baby's drinking soda. That soda is going to go through the alimentary canal. Alimentary canal is a set of roughly 6 organs connecting the mouth to the anus. So we got the oral cavity, we got the pharynx, we got the esophagus, we got the stomach, and we got the small and the large intestine. That's the alimentary canal. The word aliment means food. Think about your French or your Spanish if you know it, and you'll realize that too. Now, there's also about 6 organs that play a role in food movement, food digestion, etc., but are not tubes through which food passes. Those are accessory organs. They include the tongue, the teeth, salivary glands, the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. Okay, let's talk about some big basic digestive events. One basic digestive event is ingestion, the act of eating, like this kid is doing here. Another basic digestive event is propulsion, moving food and food wastes from the mouth to the anus. Now, it's going to include swallowing, also known as deglutition, but most of your propulsion is mediated by the act of peristalsis, which is what we see pictured here. We see a wave of contraction behind the bolus of food and relaxation in front of it. And that way the bolus of food, the mass of food, mucus, juices, whatever, moves along. All right, other things that happen, well, digestion, of course, and there's 2 types. There's mechanical and chemical digestion. Mechanical digestion is the physical smashing of food. You're going to do this with your teeth, obviously, with your tongue and your palate, as well as your stomach. Your stomach does mechanical digestion too. Chemical digestion, on the other hand, utilizes enzymes to break the chemical bonds that hold food molecules together. For example, fats are broken down by enzymes called lipases into molecules of glycerol and fatty acids. Proteins are broken down by proteases into their constituent amino acids. And starches are broken down by amylases into their more simple sugars. And we're going to encounter chemical digestion in the oral cavity, in the stomach, and in the small intestine. Okay, another process that we've got going on here is absorption. Now, in absorption, what we're doing, we see that pictured over there on the left. In absorption, what we are doing is taking food molecules, digested food molecules, and moving them from the lumen of the digestive tract into either the blood, or if they're lipids, into a lymphatic capillary. So we're going to go down through the columnar epithelium of the small intestine, notice the microvilli to increase the surface area, and we're going to go into either the blood or the lymphatic capillary. Notice the absorption, it is, well, the act of getting these nutrients in the blood or the lymph takes place in the connective tissue layer that underlies the epithelium, and that, of course, is known as the lamina propria. All right, over here we got a picture of a rectum, and the rectum is going to be the site where the defecation reflex takes place. Of course, we can see anal canal, we can see anus, external, internal, anal sphincters. So defecation is what we do to get rid of the indigestible food remains, plus whatever waste products we've added. Okay, let's keep going. We're going to start out in the oral cavity. And one of the big functional events in the oral cavity, Besides chewing and swallowing, and of course chewing is mechanical digestion, swallowing is known as deglutition. We also got saliva going on. Remember your salivary glands? I mean, here we see our big parotid gland and our submandibular gland. They're both going to be making saliva. Now, the saliva they're making, I like to think of it as digestive saliva because you're always making saliva. Your oral cavity, your tongue, your inside your lips are always moist. So there's little salivary glands in the tongue and the cheeks and the lips and the gums that make saliva all the time. Then there's the big salivary glands, of which we just mentioned too. And these make salivary glands for eating. Now, saliva cleanses the mouth. It's going to dissolve and moisten food. A couple more of its functions become apparent as we look at its composition. Now, it's mostly water, which plays a role in the dissolving of food, the diluting of food, the rinsing of the mouth. In that water, we're going to have electrolytes. I mean, obviously, saliva is a blood-derived fluid, so it's going to have electrolytes. But now here's where we get into the interesting stuff. Saliva has an enzyme called salivary amylase. Salivary amylase breaks starch down into a sugar called maltose. This is why if you take a piece of bread and you chew on it and you kind of like just suck on it for 5 minutes, it'll start tasting sweet because the starch in the bread is being broken down by salivary amylase. Now there's also IgAs in saliva. Remember, IgAs are immunoglobulins. These are a variety of immunoglobulins. So we got some immune defense going on here. Plus, saliva has lysozyme, which we've met before. We know it is a bacteria-killing enzyme. And saliva's got mucin, which thickens the saliva, which lets food slide down a little more slippery style. Again, we see parotid gland here. We see the submandibular, and on this picture, we see the sublingual gland as well. And of course, we see the teeth, which are doing mechanical digestion, and saliva makes it easier for mechanical digestion to occur as saliva moistens the food. All right, a couple questions for you to do on your own. Let's talk a little bit more about the control of saliva. Basically, if you're hungry and you see, you smell, you think about food, your primitive brainstem, your pons is thinking, all right, I see the food, therefore I shall eat that food. I smell it, I'm going to be eating it soon. I better get ready. So the sight, smell, thought, and of course the taste of food does this as well. All of those guys end up stimulating your salivary nuclei, which are in your pons. And then your salivary nuclei is going to send parasympathetic signals out to your salivary glands. And we got two of them pictured here. And those guys are going to cause salivation to occur. Now, it makes sense it is a parasympathetic process. I was going to combine process and pathway there. It's a parasympathetic pathway. Makes sense because our nickname for our parasympathetic system is rest and digest. And of course, sympathetic nervous system activation is going to inhibit salivation. If you've ever been in a nervous situation and experienced a dry, cotton mouth sort of feeling, that's what's going on there. Okay. From the oral cavity, we move into the oropharynx and then onward into the laryngopharynx. And as we do this, we're doing the act of swallowing here. We're doing deglutition. And as we do deglutition, we got to make sure food goes the right way. So we see our bolus of food right here. Our uvula is down and our epiglottis is up. This means our airway passages are open. As deglutition happens, as the bolus of food is pushed backwards, the uvula has got to pop up to shut off the nasopharynx. It doesn't have to move that far, as you can tell. And the epiglottis has got to slam down to close off the opening to the larynx. And that allows the bolus of food to enter the esophagus. And then once the bolus of food has bypassed the larynx and bypassed the epiglottis, because it is elastic cartilage, will snap back up. The muscle in the soft palate is going to relax in the soft palate, the uvula. It's going to drop back down. All right, there's part one. See y'all later.